All right. We're back. We're doing these live streams after the races are over. And there's a lot to talk about tonight. I want to let everybody file on in here. What did you guys think about the countdown? I've decided to do some new music, have some fun stuff with that, using the old CBS theme. Let's hope that's still good. But where's the beard? Shaved it off. New year, new me, new everything. But just kind of looking at the chat right now, we'll get to some of these super chats while everybody else is filing on in. And then we'll go over everything having to do with the race itself tonight. There's a lot to look over, a lot to go over. I have notes. It's a lot of the same note. It's so-and-so spins, or so-and-so was spun, or so-and-so this or that. But we're going to talk about the whole event. We're going to be here for probably the next, 30, 40, maybe 50, 60 minutes, somewhere in there. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to look over everything, look at what's going on leading up. But as it comes into screen right now, we're going to have the post-race results up on top. So let's have a little fun with it. We got that right now, and I'm going to read them off as they come. So for anyone who's just listening right now, you can know what the results are. Martin Truex Jr. got the victory. Then you have Austin Dillon in second, Kyle Busch third, Alex Bowman fourth, Kyle Larson fifth, then sixth, Tyler Reddick, the 41 of Preece in seventh, eighth, Chastain, ninth, we got Hamlin, 10th, Byron, 31 of Haley in 11th, 12th Harvick, Bell 13th, then Gregson and Briscoe the top 15. Then we have Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola, Daniel Suarez, and AJ Allmendinger the top 20. Chase Elliott finishes 21st, Bubba Wallace 22nd. Gil Linden McDowell, the front row cars, fall out of the race for running out of fuel, 23rd, 24th. Cindric 25th, Gibbs 26th, and Jones rounds out the field. Now we'll have other stuff up here, including who won the heats, last chance qualifiers, as well as where to find us for the NASCAR Weekly podcast. But that is your finishing order. It will run through the entire stream. That way that people who are filing in, you don't have to ask where somebody finished if you didn't see everything or if something happened or whatnot. But let's get to some of these super chats. A lot of you guys have left questions, comments, everything like that. And before we get into the race itself, we can look into that. By the way, we're going to be doing this all season long, when I am not at the track itself, when I'm not doing media or there is a fan or whatever, we will be here after the race to break down everything. So looking at some of these super chats really quick, starting with 670 horsepower package for 5. Trick still got it. Nice of the field to have so much beef right before the 500. Will be interesting to see how it fans out at Daytona. I think it will too. I think that something that's going to be really interesting to look at, though, is, this field is a lot, in my opinion, tighter than last year when it comes to competition. We saw it a lot tonight. I won't take too much that we saw tonight as a litmus test, just because, gonna be honest, this race last year and who was strung in it last year didn't exactly pan out for the most part at different points of the year. I mean, look at Kyle Busch last year, finished second. Looked like he was going to win the race at different points, didn't pan out. But, of course, Joey Logano won. So, hey, maybe that's good for Truex. Napa Racing Fan 927, thank you for the 5. For the Clash at the Coliseum, I'd have a 20 car race for 200 laps. Caution laps count, though. Lap traffic would be a factor without too many cars checking up. That would be something that would be a good change. I think we'll talk about some changes, because while there were good merits about this, both on the racing and the entertainment side, at the same time, there were a lot of problems with tonight that definitely need to be addressed. And I don't think that being rose-colored with the glasses is the right move, but also not being overly negative. There was, like I said, the bad's going to outshine the good at the end of the night, but this was not the worst night in NASCAR history. I've been around a lot of time to know that this is not the worst NASCAR can be. While we're at it right now, we are about 6 minutes into this. We're going to keep rolling here. But be sure to leave a like on the stream. Really helps. I swear I'm not going to spit everywhere. Hope that didn't show up on stream. But be sure to leave a like on this stream as we're closing in on 400 watch, and vote on the poll on my community tab as well. I'm going to check real quick to see what the votes are looking at, or looking like, I should say. And it's taking a minute. But while this pulls up, let's look at some of these other super chats. Groovy Goose left a $2 one early prediction. Kyle Busch wins most popular driver. I don't think so, but that is wishful thinking. I think Kyle Busch is more popular than he used to be, but he is never going to be the most popular driver. I think that Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, maybe even Bubba Wallace would have to be abducted by aliens for that to happen. Looking at the poll right now, it's been up for 10 minutes. We only got 600 votes, so be sure to vote on that. There's a pretty even split of votes for the most part, not including one outlier. I'm not going to ruin it for those who want to watch a podcast this week, which, by the way, if you saw on the top line, is on Danny B Talks channel at 8 p.m. Eastern time this Wednesday night. Going to be a lot of good stuff, including playoff picks in there. But look at some of these other super chats. Alex for the 5. I could sum up the second half with a simple acronym, FFS. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that I said that a couple times tonight. It's a good thing I was not streaming during the race, or I would probably be cast off YouTube for reasons. Spanky, thank you for the 5. I won't be able to sleep tonight without replaying Ryan Preece's electrical problems in my head all night. It's a sad night for the Preece police. Is that what we're calling Preece fans? Yeah, we'll talk about Preece in a bit, but kind of going through some of the stuff from tonight. Let's start off with what happened before the main event. We had the heats. Eric Almirola, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, William Byron. They won all 4 heats. The last chance qualifiers came down to Michael McDowell and Chase Elliott. Elliott was in as of the start of the final run, but still pretty much, locking that up to at least kind of prove to, I guess, himself, the team, that they're still good enough to make it off merit instead of just a fan vote, or a technicality, a pass, whatever it might be. It was very much a going for the win for pride kind of thing. And some noticeable guys missed it from what I have written down here. Brad Keselowski missed it for the second straight season. Christopher Buescher, I'm going to keep that meme going this year. He missed it. Harrison Burton and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Listen, with a 27-car field, it's hard to have big hitters miss. There was a possibility before the first last chance qualifier that maybe Chase Elliott would be up for something like that. It didn't happen. If it's up to me, there needs to be a bit of an overhaul when it comes to how the field is decided. 27 cars is too much. I know they're talking about doing a points race here, and they probably would just tell the open cars not to come, just to have 36 because of too much room being used up. But I do not see, for the life of me, how a points race could be done at this track. There is not enough room, especially for the disparity of the field, because even some of those chartered cars are slower. There are the Rick Ware cars are slower. Corey LaJoie in the Spire car, at least one of the Spire cars would be off the pace. And I don't see how that works with the way that a normal NASCAR race would. Do you eliminate part of the field maybe? Do you award points based off who's eliminated from the race? Like, I don't understand how you do that without causing something like this. Now, yes, you'd have the caution laps count. I get that. But NASCAR floating it out there that they might race this as a points race next year since Auto Club won't be on the schedule, they better throw that out the window now, because going for points, they would go way, way harder at each other than they would just for a race like this, which is basically a gimmick just for fun race. And again, because it's such a gimmicky kind of race, and I don't use that totally derogatively towards the way the race was, I can't speak tonight. I'm not as upset as many NASCAR fans are with the very much musical entertainment celebrity aspect of this event. This is what it was meant for. The Clash, people are talking about bringing the Clash back to Daytona. We can talk about the Clash right now. I don't see how that works. I mean, I remember the death years of the Clash from like 2015, 16 all the way through 2020. I was at the Clash in 21, and even with the limited capacity, was still a miserable crowd. There probably wasn't even 1,000 people in the stands there. This is better than what we were having. Not crazy in the amount of better, but it was still, it was better. Looking at some of the stuff from this race, we had the pre-race Cypress Hill. The age showed. I like NASCAR reaching out to different demographics, different musical acts. I might be unpopular with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The same old of bringing 1,000 different country artists. Just if you want to expand your audience and make this a race that expands, that's not how you do it. I know some fans were upset by that. Hey, listen, I'm fine as a metalhead if you bring a metal band or like a hard rock band. Bring me, I don't know, bring me Avenged Sevenfold or Metallica. Yes, both, especially Metallica is out of the limelight for popularity. Of course, actually now, because of Stranger Things, it's not. So that might be something you could do. But what they did with the musical acts between Cypress Hill and then Wiz Khalifa, like I'm honestly fine by that. I get that Cypress Hill is definitely past their prime. I said that since the announcement. The Wiz Khalifa one, I didn't mind too much. You could tell there's a bit of lip syncing in there. And that man looked high as a kite. He was probably rooting for Kyle Busch for one reason and one reason alone. But I would say that on paper, the formula is there. It's a matter of one, Fox needs to get the audio right, because from what I heard from friends of mine who were at the race, like Eric, for instance, from what it sounded good at the race. It's just that one, all the people you have up front that are like teams and media aren't getting into it really that much, or are stiff as a board. And then two, I said metal and hard rock, by the way, Allie. So no slandering Avenged Sevenfold here. That's an auto ban on my part. But I'm gonna say this: like there's so much that could have worked if not done better. Like it could have been done better. It could have worked. It would work on paper. You just need to get more modern acts. You need to get more. I think there needs to be more outreach to try and get a younger crowd that you're looking for. And the big one, and this one royally pisses me off as a sports fan. Ticketmaster, get the damn time right on the tickets, because I decided I wasn't going to go to the race. There was no way I was flying out to LA with an hour before the race, but I decided to go on Ticketmaster before the race to see how many tickets are available. Newsflash, there were a lot more than last year, better than the last couple clashes at Daytona. And I'll say this, the tickets literally said starts at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Like they didn't have the correct start time. It was 5 p.m. Pacific time is when it started. So if NASCAR is going to work with them, then man, there needs to be some things cleaned up. Looking at some of the other good things about it, the crowd wasn't as big as last year. Last year was like almost 60,000, give or take. Yes, Marky Mark, thank you for the 5. The race did leave me a little insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. But it did not have the 60,000 of last year, but it looked to still have about 40 to 50,000, give or take. I mean, remember, this place holds around 80,000. And I'm going to say this, like, you can, NASCAR for an exhibition race is not going to fill out 80,000 seats. It's not going to fill out 70,000 unless it's a big splash like last year's was. It's probably not even going to do what last year's did. It's why, for instance, the All-Star race is at North Wilkesboro, which, by the way, I will not do a post race for that because I'm going to be there. So if you're going to be there, say hi. I'll have run a marathon the day before, but I'll still be at least shambling like a zombie. Now, one thing that they missed out on, and this was really cool, they did this at Daytona last year for the Xfinity race after the rain delay, and they missed out on an amazing opportunity here, is I think what they should do, because I think they should come back next year. I think third time's a charm, nail this thing, and see, give it your best shot. I think something really cool they could have done would be to have the cars in the tunnel, because that's where they came out from the garage, have that be where the starting grid's at. if you're going to do this completely different, let's do something nuts with it. Let's go completely different. Have the cars come out, flash bulbs everywhere, lights, explosions, fireworks, the whole 9 yards. And let's have the cars all come out of the tunnel as the starting grid and set up like that. It'd be an awesome shot for TV. Fans that are in that area would have incentive to be there because there's more and more going on there. I think that would be something really, really fun to do. Now, looking at some of the other stuff, I'm just going to go through a couple of incidents, as in a lot. The first half, there were 5 incidents. And then, of course, you had Bubba go into the lead. I will say Bubba Wallace was a pleasant surprise. I did not think he would be up there like that. It was really cool to see him battling for the win on a big national stage like that. Love him or hate him, that's good, and that's big for the sport. As for Truex, I got to say, one race down, yes, but that is definitely a little bit of I wouldn't say vintage yet, but it is definitely a past Martin Truex Jr. That I see with that. But looking, past halfway, just it hit the fan, man. It absolutely hit the fan. I'm going to count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different incidents, whether caution or not. And it was, in my opinion, ridiculous to watch. I remember back in 2021, me, Eric Estep, and Black Flags Matter, we all went to the Road America race. And the Saturday of the Xfinity race, we went to the Rockford Speedway, which at the time was my local short track before I moved out. And one thing about that race that's similar to this, which, by the way, hit that like button as we jump on over 800 at the moment. But one thing I really, really loved, or not loved out, I saw similar between that race and this race was the fact that when I forgot what class it was. I don't know. It might have been one of the late model classes. They had no caution laps. And because they had no caution laps, when something would happen, the race would stop like it did tonight. And I look at the way the format is with NASCAR. I want to say that at least on the YouTube TV app, they went almost 40 minutes over the TV window. Now, granted, they might have laid it out differently, but the TV window was laid out till like 9 o'clock. That was the expectation, at least on YouTube's end. Now, I don't know if it's the same on Fox's end or whatever, but if they're going to stay in that window and they're going to start this late, because on the East Coast right now, it is almost 11 o'clock. It is 10 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. If they're going to start that late, there needs to be some kind of change. I think in general, for the racing product itself, there needs to be some kind of change because it was stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. I mean, we had multiple cautions with 69 to go with multiple restarts. Same with 65 to go. And I'm not going to say nice to that because that wasn't nice. That was not nice to watch. Also, I think there should be a spin policy. Now it can be very much a judgmental call back and forth, but maybe like some short tracks, hey, if you have you have 3 spins, get out. Like too many. Like because the 38, for instance, Todd Gilliland, it felt like he was involved in every other incident. So I think that if you're going to have the short track policy of not counting caution laps, which is something non-point races have done for a long time, I think you need to go all the way. You need to take people out that are causing problems. If somebody is causing wrecks or hitting people or whatever, send them to the back. Something like that. There needs to be less cars. I mean, it's just straight up right now. There should not be a total of 75% of the chartered cars in the main event. This event, I think if you want to make this event special on the racing aspect on top of the entertainment one, you need to make this difficult to get into. It's the same thing with the playoffs. It's the same thing with the all-star race. This has to be difficult to be in. It's not an all-star race if all of your all-stars are insured to be in the race for the most part. Yeah, Brad Keselowski didn't make it, but Brad Keselowski hasn't been good in the 6 car. I wouldn't really call him an all-star anymore. Yeah, Chris Buescher missed it, but Chris Buescher has a grand total of what, 2 Cup wins? It needs to be difficult for Bubba Wallace, for Chase Elliott, for Ryan Blaney. These popular guys, these guys who I think are all really good drivers, it needs to be difficult for them to make it into the race. It needs to also have, for the TV aspect and just for the sanity aspect, it needs to have caution laps count. Yes, you can extend the race. You can do all that stuff. They explained the rule again after the Blaney fiasco last year that if caution happens on the last lap, we restack them up. But it was ridiculous. I gotta say, congratulations to Martin Truex, and especially with all that he's been through recently, it is a very good story to see. I don't want to ignore that, all right? Because there is good. There is good in this race. One thing I noticed compared to last year, passing seemed a lot easier, just straight up. Yeah, bump and run was a lot of it, and I got that. I mean, come on, we're basically bringing Bowman Gray to LA. But passing did seem easier this year, which is, I don't know if maybe the surface was different. I know Kyle Busch said they repainted the surface right before the race started, which I found really odd. And he was saying that's why there was some slipping and sliding down the bottom. I know that the guys in the booth seemed a little what's the word? Just like kind of a little odd about that. Like they didn't think that might have been the actual reason. But there there was still some good stuff. But I was counting during the race, an incident counter. What cars were not involved in incidents? And I might have miscounted. There's been so many damn spins and wrecks and whatever in this race, I might have missed it. But these are the guys that I saw that weren't involved in some kind of major caution or were spinning or whatever. Kyle Larson. Was Eric Almirola in one? I don't know. I thought he was, but he's not X'd out here. Let me... I don't see him on the list. So I have Eric Almirola, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., William Byron, Preece, if you want to count the electrical issue, I guess, but it wasn't like a racing kind of thing. Skeptical, that's the right word. And then Alex Bowman. That was it that I could count. 6. So, like, that's not great. Lara Lewis in the chat, really quick. I saw a good question here. Do you think TV ratings will take a dip because of all the cautions and running up against the Grammys? I don't know, because I'll put it like this. I have never been interested in award shows, so I don't know how the draw is anymore. From what I've seen, because I know a lot of these award shows very much politicize themselves, I don't know if they're bringing in the ratings as much anymore. I know a lot of them are down now. So I think going head-to-head isn't a good thing, for instance, if you want that normie, kind of relatively, non-NASCAR crowd to tune in. I mean, the Pro Bowl basically nuking itself helped a lot, I think. But I even said that I think that this race will be down from last year, which I got the numbers here somewhere. Here we go. So last year we had 4.283 million viewers. I don't think that they're going to hit that. But if you compare it to clashes of years past, I mean, 1.577 is like the low end for FS1 on a Tuesday night for 2021. 2.4 for the 2020 clash. 2.2 for a rainout 2019 clash. 2.2 for 2018. These are all on FS1. No real rating for 2017. 4.8 on Fox in 2016, which was around the last one. Oh, thanks, Andrew. Is that your roundabout way of saying I look ugly without a beard? I'm kidding. I know people like the beard better, but it was getting annoying. So I think if it got like a 3.7, 3.8 million, I think that would be pretty good for the most part. I kind of figured the second year would be down. I get it, going against the Grammys is going to help. I mean, I could look up really quick what the Grammys do. I could look up what the TV ratings were last year because I know that all these award shows are down nowadays. Because I mean, this is, I don't know. I'm not someone who's big into the awards scene. I think that it's I mean, it says 9.6 million viewers in 2022. So I mean, that's probably gonna win the night. But that, you know, that's about what the around at a low end or a high end what the Pro Bowl is doing against NASCAR. So I'd say somewhere in the threes should be expected. If it's lower than like 3.5, I think that's really bad. If it is anywhere close to last year's, NASCAR should be jumping up in the air and having like a huge celebration. Let's see what else we got here. 7.8 earthquake in Turkey. Damn. I gotta say, I hope that everyone affected by that, I'm wishing them the best. Let's see. Jarrett, you're one of the best at NASCAR content, but you choose horrible teams like the Vikings. No, we're not horrible. We're just good enough to be horrible when it matters. Like, that's what I tell people. Like, a horrible team is the Browns or like the Lions, who are celebrating, like, the Lions are celebrating being just over 500, like it's, you know, the second coming of Christ. But yeah, no. The Vikings are just good enough to be bad when it matters. That's what we are. Let's look at some of these super chats, though, because I want to get to a lot of these. Hunter Nixon Fishing, thank you for the 5. This race just doesn't do it for me. Take this race back to Daytona. Okay, but no one came. No one went to Daytona. Like, there was nobody at the track. I read off the ratings. Nobody was watching on TV. Like, I would, in a perfect world, I would like how it was in the 2000s. I didn't think that the shootout at the time until about 2012. I didn't think until the Gen 6 era, I didn't think that the shootout needed changed. The Clash needed changed. But at this rate, the Clash has turned into a demolition derby at Daytona. You might as well try and make it something to reach out to fans, especially at a time of the year when football's winding down. You only have one game left. There's an off weekend. So as much as I'd want it to, it shouldn't go back to Daytona, at least for a long time, because Daytona is, outside of the 500, the stands are half empty, even for like the summer race, I should say, not the fall race, the summer race. Let's see what else we got. ManDude03, thank you for the 2 Canadian. What's up, Jarrett? Not much. Just enjoying NASCAR being back. 670 package for 2. Gibbs v. Gregson's going to be interesting. I think so. It's just a matter of both of them staying out of trouble. I think that Gibbs has a superior equipment. It's just a matter of if Gibbs can stay out of his own way at times, which is a rookie thing in general. It's not just a Ty Gibbs thing. I'm not picking on the kid. Looking at some of these other ones. Alex for the 5. Are you going to be at the Daytona or are you going to be at Daytona for the 500? Not this year, more than likely, unless something last minute changes. But maybe next year. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff up in the air. But Daytona 500s I will be at. I see IDK player in the chat, is that we have the NR Cup Series starting up this Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on IDK Player's channel. So be sure to watch that one. I'm going to be in the booth again. I love being in the booth. But it's 40 of the best guys on iRacing, all going at it for 500 miles at the Daytona International Speedway. Going to be absolutely insane, and you guys should all be there. For nothing else than just to clown on me if I screw up with the call. But I don't think we will, because if you watch the one we did with Homestead, it was really, really good and really fun, and I think this is going to be even better. We have a stacked field, man. NASCAR Weekly Podcast, by the way, is going to be on Danny B Talks channel this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talking about all of this and a ton more. Playoff predictions, by the way, all 4 of us. I know me and Eric have already released ours, but we are going to be doing a ton and covering a ton on that. Me, Danny B Talks, Eric Estep, Black Flags Matter. Going to be a blast. ManDude03 with another 2 Canadian. Kyle Busch is going to be a force to be reckoned with. We'll see. I think so, personally. I think a motivated Kyle Busch is a dangerous Kyle Busch, but we're going to just have to wait and see. I think the first 6 to 8 races, that feeling it out zone, when we really figure out who's who. I mean, this is when we figured out last year the track house was for real. It's when we figured out last year that maybe Gibbs was in trouble. So I think give it, I don't know, what's the 8th race of the season? Give it past about Bristol Dirt. Give it to Easter, and we'll see just how much Kyle Busch is up front and contending. Now, granted, Kyle Busch was good at the start of last year, and it didn't work out. Jason, thank you for the 5. Kyle Busch, I feel, is going to have a resurgence this year. I kind of covered that, but I think so too, personally. Double A 3403, thank you for the 5. The race definitely needs to be 15 to 20 cars. The heats were so entertaining. I agree. The heats were the best part of this whole day for me. I do think they overdid it. There was way too much coverage in general, I think. I mean, 6 hours of coverage for a 150-lap exhibition race. That's just too much. Now, I say that, but I would say that I think that much coverage for the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro is a little different because of how big of a deal it means to fans to have that race. So there are differences. I get why they did it, but I agree. Just too much tonight. I feel like it oversaturated the day too much in every aspect. Less cars, less laps under caution, less cautions, a little less coverage that you don't have to be stretching out to fill airtime. And I think that you have a solid event made up. Austin, thank you for the 5. Glad to have you back, man. Here's to a great season. Personally, I think there were too many cars on track. Anyways, God bless you, man. Good to be back. Well, thank you, Austin. I agree. Too many cars on track. But I am glad to be back. NASCAR's back. Anytime that we got cars back on the track, it's fun. By the way, we got the poll going right now, and 38 minutes in, we're at almost 2,000 votes. And I'm going to be interested in what the comments say. Remember, we read your comments on the podcast, and we talk about what you voted on it. So more incentive to watch on Wednesday night. Going to be really, really fun. Looking at some of these others. Daniel, thank you for the 2. Another year of Hamlin versus Chastain. I'm gonna guess that you're not a Chastain fan. But I think I tweeted when that happened. I'm like, of course it's Chastain. Of course, Twitter being Twitter was, it wasn't his fault, blah, 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 which never said that. But anyway, Chastain v. Hamlin. I am so glad that this seems to be carrying over to another year, because something that I loved about old school NASCAR, and something I think modern NASCAR misses a lot, is that rivalry aspect. We get rivalries for a couple races a season. Like, I get that, man. But we don't get rivalries that span years. And I feel like Ross Chastain is just flipping the script completely. Like, the last 15 to 20 years, ever since really the Gen 4 era ended, we have not had any long-standing, really good rivalries where you see these two guys on track and you're like, oh man, it's about to go down. You don't get that anymore. And I think that Ross Chastain at this point, every time you see Chastain next to Denny Hamlin, hell, every time you see him next to Chase Elliott and it's a little too close, you start thinking, oh man, dude, shit's going to go down. And that's something that you need. You need that intrigue. 1v11, man. 1v11. It is like, it's fun to watch them on track, because even if they don't get into each other, they race each other really, really hard. And that's what I love about it. And that's, again, Chastain. Some are saying Chastain will be, is a menace. I love it. I love that part of it. For me, as somebody who works and talks about the sport, I love it. Now, no, I will agree that these two have history line. So overused. But watching it, especially I'll say this, if you watch a race with it muted and you have intrigue and two people being next to each other, that is good drama, good television, good sport, good everything. And that's what I love about those two being around each other. And I love that this is going to last all season. It is. Like, those two are like magnets just drawn to each other. And I love it. Looking at some others here. Sheepbot05, thank you for the 2. 35 races, could be a possibility next year, in my opinion. No. And there's one reason why. And it's because the TV contracts have it laid out that there have to be 36 races, or NASCAR loses out on the TV money for that race. That's why they tried so hard in 2020 to get all the races in, whether it be raced on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have double headers, stuff like that. That's why they did that, and that's why they would not allow 35 races. TV revenue is far and away the lifeblood of the sport. Say what you want about sponsors, TV revenue. If there was no TV revenue, the sport could not survive with its current business model without TV the way it is. Now, that's what makes it interesting, talking about the new deal that's going to be negotiated through the season, which, again, we'll be watching on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time this week on Danny B Talks channel. Another seamless transitional plug there. Let's see, Marky Mark. I already read that. That race did leave me insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Looking at some of the others here. By the way, for those of you who don't have like a YouTube account, it resets the super chat. So I'm trying to read them. I'm trying to pay attention to the chat too. I want to see what the chat is saying here. Yeah, like Spencer said, like, albeit in an unorthodox way, but it was done. Apparently I'm looking like IDK player. I mean, working out wise, I am. I've been working out a lot. But again, speaking of IDK player, we got the Daytona 500 for the NR Cup Series on his channel Friday night. I'm gonna be there, so be sure to be there. It's a ton of fun. I've been spotter for it. I've been viewer for it. I've commentated races with them. All around good time. Absolute best show on iRacing, bar none. Let's see what else we got here. All right, I did get past that one. Cameron, thank you for the 7 Canadian. Keep the Clash in LA and give Auto Club's date to Montreal and run it in the snow. It would be awesome. Well, I don't know about the snow just because of safety aspects. Of course, we did have a snow race at Bristol in 2006. There was a snow weekend. And Martinsville, of course, I think in 2018 had snow cancel the race at one point. But I like the idea of the aesthetic of snow, especially for Canada. It's just, especially as an American, you hear so much about Canadian winters. But I do think maybe a one year at Montreal would be good. But I think they want that Southern California area. I'd say, especially since I don't want it back at the Coliseum for a points race, bite the bullet for a year, go up to Montreal, and then see working out the contracts if you can keep Montreal long term. Because I think Canada deserves a cup race. If NASCAR is to expand, you need to get to different countries nowadays. It is a very globalized market when it comes to sports. So I say go up to Canada. Take advantage of it. You know what? You got dealt a bad hand because this process had been held up so much. Let's take advantage of it and go up there. If not, since it is an ISC track, you know that my vote is always go to Chicagoland. Track is race ready. They got racing there in September. Not NASCAR, but they got racing. So maybe that would be a good idea. Even as a 1 year, give it to Rockingham maybe. Rockingham's jumping at it like ZH2 Motorsport says in the chat. But there's plenty of options. And NASCAR said they're going to be above and beyond with the 2024 schedule. So I think this is going to be one of the most interesting years. Maybe, you know what? Maybe, depending on when they do it, maybe it'll be the podcast we do it live. Maybe I'll just do it live on my channel. We'll go over it. Whatever happens, we'll see about going over it live when it happens and it's announced. Napa Racing Fan 927, thank you for the 2. Was this the Animal Control Clash or the Bush Clash? Tell me about it. That comedian was trash. So here's the thing. February for Chicagoland isn't good, but you can move around the schedule. My vote, for instance, would be to move Sonoma to that weekend into the West Coast swing, depending on what scheduling looks like for other series. And then the last race on Fox be Chicagoland. That'd be my vote personally. There's going to be shuffling with the schedule, though, regardless. I would say, though, if Chicagoland and Chicago Street Course, anything in Northern Illinois has to be done between May and September. The issue with May and June especially is that's when there's tons of rain. I can tell you now, as living there my whole life, there's tons of rain, thunderstorms. I mean, look at the last race at Chicagoland. There's plenty of thunderstorms. Looking at some of these other ones here. Bake the Snake, thank you for the 10. I don't know if it was announced on TV or not, but apparently none of the cars that ran the last chance qualifiers got to refuel, which led several of them parking it because they ran out of gas, which we saw the front row cars. Maybe Elliott, I don't know. He finished way back there, so maybe he was one of them. But yeah, that was really dumb. If you're gonna go all out gimmicky kind of race like that, you might as well go all out, make all these guys that you are with open arms bringing to this race, and give them the best shot possible. I mean, it's not like it's a points race. Irvin, thank you for the 5. Hi, Jarrett. I watched the international feed for the Clash, and they got new graphics. It's horizontal ladder with actual car numbers. You want pics of it? Sure. Send them over on my Twitter. DMs are open. If I don't respond, I at least try and look at every DM I get, even if I don't respond. The outside line, thank you for the 5. Great race, but too many cautions in the second half for my liking. Agreed. Montana Crawford, thank you for the 2. Love seeing the 11 and the 1 are still at it. Agreed. Blake, thank you for the 199. Austin Dillon looked great tonight. Let's go. Yeah, he did. He looked really good. I think he was stronger than Kyle Busch tonight at the end. And that was honestly really cool to see. The fact that he finished second, man. No Twitter. If you have a link to it, maybe leave it in maybe one of the comments sections. I have Instagram too. Yeah, go with Instagram, Irvin. Go for it. Maybe I'll be able to share it on the podcast. Let's see what else we got here. Jason, thank you for the 5. Would love to see the race next year at Irwindale for a points race to cover Auto Club. Well, from what I heard, Irwindale is in financial trouble and I think might be sold off. It was either Irwindale, but I know Kern is one that people are talking about. There'd be a lot of work need to be done with it, but you know what? More short track racing, fine with it. That's honestly why I'm fine with the Auto Club reconfiguration. I want more short track racing. And you know what? I'll say it now. 2025, I'll put, as long as I am able, I'm going to try and put my money where my mouth is. I know I'll watch it on TV, but if not, I'll go to that race. I might as well put money where my mouth is. And one way or another, though, we need more short track racing. I wish that Auto Club didn't have to be the one to be screwed out of it, but Auto Club would people forget how trash tracks get for a long time with repaves. Like Kansas is an anomaly. Not every track is Kansas. I remember California Speedway, Auto Club Speedway, whatever you want to call it, back when the surface was still pretty new, and it honestly was not all that fun to watch. And that was 2005, 2006. Now, that surface, I think, was laid down in 97. So I don't see how people I feel like people would complain about it a lot, which is normal for NASCAR fans. But at the same time, I feel like people wouldn't show up because they weren't showing up already. Like, there'll be a big crowd in a couple weeks because it is the last. They don't have it anymore. But back when it was just another race on the schedule, there weren't people showing up. The empty aluminum at the track outnumbered the people. So, I wish, because I did love that track at its best when the cars were set up the right way. But, man, that track is just... No, I didn't say Auto Club got repaved. I said it got paved. And it took like 10 years for it to come in. But yeah, I'm going more short tracks. And I know it sucks, but it's the best possible outcome out of a bad situation like that. Bake the Snake, thank you for the 5. Here's to a new season of NASCAR racing, attending races, and just overall shenanigans. I agree. And I agree with Noah Coleman in the chat. Auto Club reached its peak from 2011 to 2016. I agree. Kansas or KS Wheels. I'm gonna Kansas Wheels, I think, because it's a KC logo. For 5, someone needs to wax Austin Dillon's lip in his sleep. Oh my The dime store Dale look ain't it. Damn, man. Yeah, okay. Irvin, you just sent that over. Let me pull it up. And while it's coming up, Nick, thank you for the 5. Last big long time rivalry I can think of is Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch in the early 2010s. Still get into it. Still get into each other sometimes, like 21 Martins. Yeah, that was pretty much it. That was the last big time rivalry. Make sure my phone's muted. All right. Oh wow, the Pro Bowl. I literally talked about it earlier, and I still forgot that it happened. All right, let's see. Come on. Here we go. Irvin sent me the. Oh, all right. He sent me the photos. Ooh. Ooh. I like this. I'll have to talk to the guys. Maybe we'll have that on the podcast on Wednesday. Those look sharp. Especially that tower. That looks really good with like the sort of see-through. It's almost kind of looks like the see-through I got here. I like that, man. I like that. Hunter Nixon Fishing, thank you for the 5. Glad NASCAR is back. Not really an NFL fan anymore. Do you think Trackhouse can keep up with HMS or JGR? I think this year is going to be the really big test. Towards the end of last year, before the Hail Melon, a lot of people forget that they really had an issue with keeping up. Like there was a bit of fall off. They went from like a top 5 team those first 13 to 18 races to like 5th to 10th place team. And guys, I'd show it, but the problem is that to get everything in OBS the way I want it, like it would screw with the stream and it would make my audio not match up with my lips. And as much as I would like to show it, I do also like talking, as you can tell. By the way, hit that like button really quick. We might do some fun stuff in the future with like goals. Because I'm thinking about doing something fun where we do like a random driver of the week or something. I don't know. We'll figure out something, but I want to do something special to end these streams off. While we're in here, I'm gonna double check on everything, make sure there's no breaking news. You guys didn't say there was a fight or anything. Oh man. I open it up and Jeff Gluck has a tweet right here. A quote from MTJ's crew chief James Smalls, and I quote, "Lord YouTube, please don't demonetize me." I quote this. James Smalls says, "The way we started last year here, we were a bag of dicks." Okay, then. That is one way of putting it. But that's, yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm just looking through everything possible to find out if there's anything we need to go over. If not, let me check YouTube really quick. If Brock Beard is still going, because I would love to see if we could do a fun little raid. Yeah, Brock Beard is live right now. Post race, got 101 watching. We're gonna end off here pretty quick. So how about this? Y'all head over to Brock's channel, give him some support. Brock is awesome with the documentaries. He's awesome when it comes to content live. He's just all around an awesome guy. So we're going to end here. I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll be live post-race for every single race of Speed Weeks, starting with the duels, truck race, Xfinity race, Daytona 500. We're going to be going nuts throughout February because NASCAR's back. We're going to be here for every little bit of it. So we're going to call it a night. Thank you guys so much for watching. Head on over. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Head on over to Brock Beard's stream. He is, again, like I said, he is an awesome, awesome creator. Top of the line person in general, both with creation as well as outside of the, just outside of NASCAR. I'll put it here. I'll read the last super chats. I think some popped in, but there is the link. And let's read this last bit of super chats or super chat. Napa Racing Fan 927 for 2. Can Rockingham return in 24? How does it return? It can. It's been repaved. They're putting safer barriers, putting all that stuff in. So, and by the way, I'm gonna pin this up. So it's at the top of the chat. They can. It's just a matter of oversaturation in the area. As for the Analog Kid 8, thank you for the 5. Give the truck races to smaller sanctioned tracks. My home track, Wake County, would have a great truck exhibition. Quarter-mile bull ring racing, baby. I agree. I think that'd be a good plan. But yeah, last little bit, go to Brock Beard's channel, give him some support, and also be sure to watch the NASCAR Weekly Podcast this Wednesday night on Danny B Talks channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and the NR Cup Series Daytona 500 on IDK Players channel as I co-commentate at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as well. Here's to a fun season. We're going to be here for a lot of races this year, and I guess until next time, have a good one.